Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 445 at scavengerlife.com.
We are live from Williamsburg, Virginia.
Pre-recorded from Williamsburg, Virginia, yes.
Where we're going to be here for a week.
Yep.
Ryan is taking some classes.
Yep. 6-day class.
Yep, it's exciting. A secret.
Professional development, Jay.
A secret 6-day class.
Yeah.
And I am going to be scavenging while I'm here. So
yes.
I'm the chauffeur and the scavenger.
Yes.
Okay, last week we were talking about something that concerned me about sales tax. It's really good that eBay is collecting the sales tax that now multiple governments require. But it looks like, and it's confirmed, that PayPal is charging us the fees
on that tax.
So even though we don't touch it, we're paying for it.
Right.
So our question was, in the managed payments, this new managed payments that eBay is rolling out that some people are on, are they being charged for those taxes as well? And there was a scavenger, Libby is her name, who says she's doing managed payments, but she says there's no per transaction fee, and they don't seem to charge fees on sales tax.
Right.
Is that true?
When she sent that link, it said that, and then underneath it, it said your total amount includes all fees for the payment and taxes. So within another paragraph, it completely flips what it says.
Got it.
So you're like,
contradiction.
It's a contradiction, and you're like, so which one is it?
So we're no closer.
We don't know
to knowing the answer.
So bizarre.
I will say too, though, this is something else that people had complained about, and it happened to us, and I'm like, yeah, that is kind of screwy. We had someone buy something for $50 today. Yeah. Immediately sent a cancel request, which we were like, okay, no problem. PayPal charges us for that, so we lost $1 something on that
for no sale. Just for someone to be like, oh, just cancel, don't want it. I can't say no. I'm not going to ship it to them.
I love that voice. So
really, that to me is so obnoxious.
People will say, and it's true, that's just the cost of doing business, but it is kind of a little screwy. And eBay's managed payments will make me, I'll be more excited to use eBay's managed payments if they don't do that kind of stuff. You know, like they collect taxes outside of our transaction with a buyer, and we don't pay for some kind of transaction fee on those taxes. And if someone cancels, we get whatever fee back. And period. Yeah.
I agree.
End of story. Okay.
How it used to be.
That's the end
old
of the
days.
podcast.
The end.
Okay. This week we went to an auction. So
can you?
It's 2020. It's a new year. We've talked about it. We have not done a whole lot of like hardcore scavenging. Is the way I like to talk about it. It's like we're always scavenging. You know, you're out at the grocery store. A little here and a little there. Yeah. We'll pop in a store, grab a couple things. Yeah. But like hardcore. Go in,
an auction.
All in, elbows out, pushing people all the way.
Bring in a thermos of coffee, which I did.
We spent $350.
Not bad.
For a Beverly Hillbilly truckload of stuff. You know, where I'm like strapping it on. It's going above the cab, full of boxes and bins. Yep. And it was good. I don't know if we got any home runs, like any of those things where I'm like, wow, this is...
We haven't gone through our stuff yet. Now, we bought a bunch of stuff. You know, we wrapped it up. We threw stuff in boxes and bins. And then we brought it home and we unpacked some of it.
Right.
But, so you can't say that for certain.
So there could definitely be some secret stuff in there.
But it didn't feel like that when we were buying.
Yeah, but even at the time. So I think it's like a lot of cool bread and butter stuff. A lot of long tail items.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting is we met a scavenger at the auction. There was this guy, you know, it was really crowded.
It was really crowded.
More crowded than I've ever seen it in.
Well, he told us there was no auction during like the week of Christmas.
Maybe.
So I don't know.
And it's a kind of auction where I bet more than half of the people there are just there, just hang out with older people.
It's just entertainment.
Anyway, this guy, he like locked eyes with me. And
in a way of he's like, I know you, but you don't know him. You're like, this guy knows me.
He came and introduced himself. We actually don't put our pictures on our podcast, but he must have known us from. I used to put pictures on
a long time ago. Yeah,
but he was real nice. He sells part time. He's a nurse. Is a job, but he sells part time with his daughter and his wife help him. And,
which is so cool.
I mean, to me, it's amazing. He's got 1,200 items stored in his basement.
Yeah.
He says he grosses $50,000 a year. I think he said 46,000.
It's amazing.
Gross, So even if you walk away with $30K,
that's amazing.
That's amazing
for a part-time job.
I think it's just amazing how it's just become so normal now to run an eBay store out of your own home and to make a good, solid, part-time job income.
Right.
And yeah, it's amazing.
No, it's funny to run into people who know us and we obviously don't know them by sight anyway.
I feel like when we first started this podcast, it was very rare. It seemed more rare to find these kind of people. And it could just be a zeitgeist,
Yeah.
Enough people are listening to each other and understanding and have put in the time and built up their own personal infrastructure.
Right.
And now there's just, who knows? I don't know how many thousands of people across the country that have these, pretty established stores.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's like a store on your main street pulling in $50,000. I bet that's pretty common. I mean, but this is just out of people's houses.
This is just your hobby business, part-time business. It's amazing.
Well, it was interesting. At the auction, there was a collection of salt and pepper shakers.
Yes.
So, these are estates. So the people have died or they're almost going to die. So all their stuff is being sold. So a woman spent her whole life collecting salt and pepper shakers.
Yeah.
And there were, maybe 400 pairs? I mean, there were
Are you talking about the teapots?
Oh, is it
they
teapots?
They were teapots.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, there were a bunch of salt and pepper shakers.
Sorry. These were teapots.
They were teapots.
And they were
decorative teapots. Right. Some of them you could use, but most of them are just for putting
in
on
the shape
shelf.
of a flamingo and
just a teddy bear, whatever.
And there must have been 400.
There were so many.
And there were people
there were probably
around,
400.
And they were sold off in 20 minutes.
It felt like longer because I was waiting for them to finish and I couldn't wait.
And I will say, and I've said it before, going to these auctions is like a philosophical experience because
existential.
Because you get to see someone spent their whole life collecting these in 20 minutes.
Your whole collection's dispersed.
Just disperse into the wind.
Yeah.
And then
probably resold on eBay back to a collector.
And then just sent all over the world. I mean, number one, it's great that they're being kept in circulation.
Right.
But I guess it teaches me that collecting doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Except just the enjoyment of collecting.
Right.
It's not the collection itself. It's
the process, finding on them.
Hopefully in
traveling
in the good dream world
to get them.
Yeah, it's like traveling and
somewhere from England, somewhere from Texas, somewhere from whatever.
But it is funny Japan. When I go into someone's house and see their wall of whatever beer mugs or elephants. I'm like,
Do you collect anything?
No.
You get books, but that's more practical.
But I sell,
mostly sell stuff.
I mean,
I don't collect anything. I don't just either.
Collect memories.
I collect things to sell on eBay. Collect 8,000 items to sell on eBay.
Collect property.
That's true.
And it's always interesting to me, this part of this country where we're in Virginia, there's a Mennonite.
Yeah.
They're not Quakers.
They're Mennonites.
some of them, I guess, ride horses. These are the kind that ride horses, but they look like they're pilgrims. They like walk in, and I mean, mainly the
women.
Yeah.
Some of the men have outfits, but it's mostly the women they have bonnets.
What's interesting to me is I think you're going to be mad that I say this, but I was checking like a group of them out. And they have like bonnets and like little handmade clothes, and then they have like white tennis shoes.
Well, like Skechers.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm so confused right now.
They remind me of like punk rock girls because
really?
They're like super practical.
Yeah.
They don't have anything on them that is not like practical.
Right.
That can't be
right.
I use. And they have like their own hairstyle that they probably just do themselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that they make their own clothes.
Yeah. Although, look,
it's super awesome.
The dresses are handmade, but again, also like you said, the sneakers are just whatever.
Right.
And then like a couple of the girls had like Gap jean jackets on. I was like, okay, I'm confused, but okay.
Yeah, I think each of the groups
Are
churches
different.
can choose how hardcore they're going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's fascinating.
But it's funny when I watch them, they're buying like cookware,
sewing stuff, quilting
super
stuff,
super practical.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, because they're sewing. Yeah. I mean, they're making their clothes,
and they're scavengers. I went head to head with a couple of them.
Yeah, because you're looking for the same stuff.
Yeah. And I want it.
I went to head. I don't know if they were Mennonite, but there was this huge jar of buttons. And it was so funny because you were the one that wanted them. I was like, oh, buttons. But we sell buttons all the time, so whatever. Vintage, certain particular
real quick,
ones.
A caveat.
Yes, it's like mugs.
Anyone who's like, I should just buy every button I see.
No.
It's like mugs. They're so cheap, they're everywhere, but there are certain buttons that sell well.
Look,
most of them don't.
I am going to dig. You already dumped it out. Thanks for doing that.
Yes.
It's a mess. I'm going to dig through that pile and I have to find the special ones, the special and 1930s, Bakelite, hand-painted one. Bakelite. Metal, hand-painted, pearl, rhinestones, natural shell. Mother of pearl, or it's like abalone or whatever. Stuff like that that's interesting. There will be hundreds of buttons that are just cheap plastic buttons. So
if you went head to head?
I went head to head with two other women. Like in a box lot thing, and this might be true for some auctions, they can pull stuff out for you if you're like, oh, pull that out. Like, I don't want you to just sell that with everything else. So this lady was like, pull out these buttons, and I'm standing right next to her, and I was like, nope. I am getting this.
And it was $17 for like a giant, like one of those big like pretzel plastic containers.
Yeah,
full of them.
It was huge.
I always have to remind you at these things because you're the kind of auction person who wants to just buy like a box for $1.
I know. I'll wait.
And I have to remind you, like, we're here to buy.
And stuff's so cheap.
Like,
it's like, just do it.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, actually, there were a couple times where you and I split up because you went into the other room because they were like auctioning stuff off in the other warehouse. And I would buy stuff like, they'd be like, okay, choice for $7. And I'd be like, I want this and I want this because I see stuff in there that's worth that.
But I have to remind you, though, I mean, if you see like
a box,
something really
pull
good,
it aside.
Where there's like, 30 things in there and one thing will sell for $30. I'm always like, I'll easily buy this for $30.
Yeah.
In those kind of auctions, because this is like the cheap part of the auction. Yeah. Very few people pay $30.
Nobody's going to go that high. Yeah.
It's then there's that second part of the auction where it's like sit down and people are like holding things up and that's where the items get really expensive because they're like collectible.
Yeah.
This is all the kind of cool doodad junk.
Right.
Gewgaws.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay, the other thing before we get into our numbers was I was randomly on that site HomeGoods.
Yeah.
Was it homegoods.com?
Yeah, HomeGoods. Yeah. It's not just a site, it's a store.
Okay. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Right. It really is.
And from time to time we'll either walk into those kind of stores
just
to kind of see
Right. Like Michael's.
What people are buying.
Stuff like
I think it's been a while since we've done stuff like that. So I was really surprised. They had so much stuff that looked kind of cool. Like it looks like everything we buy at auctions that they are now reproducing and selling. And it's like every category is covered. Right. Farmhouse, the farmhouse look, all that stuff is there. Primitive, mid-century, and the stuff actually looks kind of cool. Yeah, and it's real cheap. Yeah, and it makes me be like, wow, this is the kind of stuff that we would find at auctions and estate sales and yard sales and sell for good money. But now I feel like the commercial world's kind of caught up and is now reproducing that. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's one reason why we're not selling quite as much. It's not that more people are scavenging. It's that people are just buying that stuff.
Get it at Home Goods. Why are you gonna? Yeah. I mean, we're in an Airbnb right now, and I'm looking around, and there are like there's like the barware sets and stuff. You're like, that's kind of vintage barware, but you know it came from like Home Goods or whatever, Target or whatever.
We were in Target the other day, and I'm just like who is it? Joanna Gaines or whatever. They have that whole thing. I'm just like, this stuff is really nice. It actually looks kind of cool. Yeah. You know? So I don't know. It made me think like, so is there something that is now we see at auctions or out in the world that no one else is buying?
Brown furniture.
Yeah. Like, what are people overlooking that isn't being isn't being made for cheap?
That's still interesting
in like Chinese factories.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had this conversation before about Michael's and Home Goods and, you know, those places where you look at it and you're like, oh, it's like the fake primitives, but it's gone even further than that, where it's fake mid-century. Wayfair. Right. I mean, Jesus. Yeah. Like you go on Wayfair and you're like mid-century chair, mid-century table, mid-century everything. Yeah. And I've bought some of that stuff for our rentals where you have to fill in a space and you're
I will say.
I think
very
2 things.
Selective pieces.
I think we bought like 2 things from there and like a rug.
Yeah, because it can feel very cheap.
Yeah, but I hear you. So it's scary because you're like, does that mean it's not even a question? It does mean that people aren't buying vintage stuff.
And I feel too it means that once it gets to being reproduced and made in Chinese factories and sold for cheap and just Home Goods and Target and stuff. It means like, I feel like it's at the end of its trend. Right. You know, you're like, now it's just like, it's so available that it's just going to kind of
it's everywhere.
Fizzle out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I've seen it in certain places when you go, I don't know, where like Chipotle or wherever, and you see, I don't know, like, we ate there twice this week. That's why I'm like, Chipotle. You know, you see a place where they're using industrial type design. Right. And you're like, oh, this came from the lofts of New York City and here it is like everywhere.
I mean, I think the answer is the real authentic stuff that's like really made well. Yeah. Or has a name, you know, is branded. I think that stuff will always be valuable. But
I agree.
You know?
But I always think, you know, when we see all these trends, like you're saying, like what is the next one? You know, what is the next one to be looking for? But also just in terms of design of spaces.
And we've been selling enough on eBay where I now, you know, understand that we've actually just kind of by happenstance been ahead of some trends.
Some things.
Just because we've been able to find it and we like put it up and then it gets popular and then we start
like
finding it.
Distressed rugs like we talk about. Same thing. You just thought they were cool.
And it's kind of cool how those things, you know, kind of cycle through.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I agree. But yeah, it's interesting to watch like what is the...
And we would talk about this a long time ago with Mikey and Wendy, how being people that sell on eBay, you start realizing like, oh yeah, this is like a whole industry where like they're, you know, in the fashion industry and the like home goods industry, there are, you know, people being paid a lot of money trying to figure out what the next trend is or to try and create the next trend. And they're always a couple of years ahead of like everyone. And it's interesting just to think about how that stuff works.
Well, like when you're talking about home, we could talk about this like for days, but for the home goods thing, the people who are in charge of that stuff are our age.
Right.
So yeah, they're on eBay and they're watching Mad Men and they're watching whatever, like that is literally their job. It is not someone who's my mom's age who's retired.
And
it's someone our age.
And that those kind of people might have friends who sell on eBay and they're like,
eBay, Etsy.
Tell me what things are selling.
Right. Yeah. What's trendy. Yeah. They're looking at solds. They're looking at first dibs.
We're just trendsetters, Ryan.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying, but like, it's a different generation who's in charge of things like that. It's Gen X, Yep. It's millennials.
X. Gen X, yeah.
I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge of Gen X and millennial, so I can see both sides.
Yeah. Okay. So this week for us, we sold 45 items.
Felt like it.
Seems like a lot, right?
My helper couldn't come most of the week, so yeah.
I mean, it seems real good. We sold $1,160 of items.
45 items. You're like, oh, those were $9 items.
So, unfortunately, we sold a lot, but they were pretty all low dollar, just the way it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Just
the way it is.
That's how it
Again,
is.
the thing that saves us is that our cost of items sold
low.
is $53. I mean, it's still...
Yeah.
That's just how it is. That was how our week was. Our highest item was $140 a waffle maker, a Griswold.
It's Griswold, yeah.
Which real quick, because it's my story. I found it.
You did find it.
It went to a bag sale, fill a bag, $5, and I found it was a Griswold. And it was in pieces, and it was kind of strewn about. So I think that's why
you found the two pieces.
No one had bought it.
Because one was the waffle thing. It's like to go over a campfire or whatever.
Right. And then one's just
to hold it, to sit on there. But the funny thing is, when I looked them up on eBay, there weren't very many. And the ones that did sell and were for sale were in beautiful condition. And ours was super rusty. Like, it's easy to fix up cast iron. Like, it's okay if it's rusty. You can clean it and season it and put it in a fire and put oil on it. It's fine. But it's still, I had it $199 best offer. They offered $140.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that
we were like, great.
Brand new people will ask us, like, I find this stuff. Should I sew the holes up? Right. Should I,
Depends,
fix things up, polish the wood, polish the brass? And I think as we sell more and more, are just like,
I don't have time.
Sell it as is. Because number one, it's never really worth it. Like, I could have really scrubbed that cast iron and like.
I think we could have gotten $199 if we had cleaned it, but I'd rather just not have to do that.
$140 as is. And the guy that bought it, he was like, he sounded like an older guy because he like wrote it as
long
like
paragraph.
A letter. He was like, dear
seller or whatever.
Thanks, Brian. He was like, I'm collecting this stuff and I'm getting it and I'm fixing it up. So I think it was like a hobby for him.
Yeah, sure. So it was part of the process.
We sold a big stock pot, like not a commercial one.
Yeah. Big aluminum stock pot.
For $80.
I think it was a 25 quart. I mean, it was huge. 15 inches wide.
$80.
$80, yeah.
And, those are the kind of items that, again, a lot of new people would be afraid of because, pain in the butt to ship.
It actually was so easy to ship.
Right. Because it's just so
It's a
strong.
Big metal, like I padded it out and I got a big box and I just padded it and you're like, it's fine.
Right.
It's not heavy.
Right.
It's aluminum. It's light. Aluminum,
right.
So it actually was great. I was just like, this is super
Did you
easy.
check to see who bought it? Like, is it like a
I did.
Restaurant?
No, it's like some guy who lives in a single wide trailer in like some tiny town in California.
Maybe he's going to cook
big old chili or something.
In it or something.
It looks like a pretty nice town. I don't know. I just thought this thing is so huge for the size of the house he's living in. He could be a cook, somewhere, not a meth cook, but like, I don't know. It was interesting. Or it was like, maybe they're going to do like when you go camping and you like have a bunch of people.
We don't know.
I used to go camping when I was little, and like you'd have that big stew pot, and you'd do like a big chili over the campfire. It had a lid and everything, so that's what I was picturing, like someone who lived out in the woods.
Oh, we ever go camping?
Because we work all the time.
I've talked about it to you.
We always work.
But you said that you're afraid of camping now.
Well, sleeping outside at night is weird to me. Like, aren't bears going to kill us and eat us?
Nope. I thought you went camping before. We didn't do that. Okay. Anyway, we sold a smoking pipe, like a a wood smoking pipe.
How much was that?
For $80. $80. Now
that was pretty good.
Some scavengers make very good money selling old pipes. Yeah. I mean, I have a friend that actually his wife's uncle gave him like his collection of pipes.
Yep.
He's been collecting his whole life. He's been selling these things $300, $400,
Ours aren't worth that.
I mean, he like cleans them. I mean,
I'm sure they have a name on them too, because those are the collectible ones.
So we are not those kind of scavengers. We don't, we haven't gone deep, but we have bought like bundles of ones and we sell them. Yeah. $80 is a good price for us, but that's a good one. And then we sold a vintage PETA poster.
Yeah.
What's it?
People for the Ethical Treatments of Animals.
I found a whole like bin of these old vintage PETA posters. I mean, I guess they're not that vintage, but like the 80s.
Yeah, 80s. But that's when PETA started, 70s, 80s.
I guess 80s just doesn't seem vintage, but it is.
It is.
And we sold it for $80. And I thought they're going to be, these are long tail items.
Super long tail.
But when they sell, they're great because I know it was some guy in LA, someone who's really into like that kind of stuff. Like they're really cool old posters that like when PETA was first starting out,
It was Moby. No, it wasn't Moby.
Oh, I was like, what?
I just make sure I'm being Moby, but it wasn't.
It could be.
Yeah, I loved your face just then.
What?
You're like, why didn't you tell me earlier?
Yeah. And we normally don't say this kind of thing.
No. That it wasn't Moby. I was just making a joke.
I give some people.
Sorry, Moby. I didn't mean to say stuff you were buying.
So Scavenger of the Week. Yeah, I mean, I think in that auction, the thing I'm most interested in, I bought a lot of vintage. Like
basketball uniforms,
right? And so if you're like, that doesn't sound interesting, but these are like when people, I guess, didn't understand how clothes should work. So they're like fluffy nylon.
Those are the warm up suits. They're not nylon. They're polyester. But the actual like uniforms themselves, they're all made out of polyester. And actually, I looked up old basketball uniforms. This is from a high school in like rural Pennsylvania or something. And the shorts are so short. And I was like, these are obviously for women. And then I'm like, I think these are men's shorts.
Yeah, they're men's shorts.
They're men's shorts.
We're like coming up to the crotch.
You're just like, how are they doing basketball in this?
So I don't know. It's like, it's one of those things where if we can figure out how to sell these, I have a lot of them.
We have a lot.
So I'm going to do very well.
Northwestern Pennsylvania, by the way. Anyone who's from there.
Or they're useless, and I just bought a bunch of junk.
You didn't spend very much.
$30 for
2 huge boxes full. There was other stuff too.
One way I was, and this is again is someone who's new is like, well, how do I sell these? So there's 2 ways of thinking about it. If you start to allot them up into their sizes.
Right.
And sell them, one by one.
Right.
Or we were thinking about even putting together like smaller groups and selling them as props.
Yeah, like a prop house would buy them.
Like come and buy like a whole basketball team full of
vintage outfits. I think what I want to try, and I would love some advice if anybody's hearing this and understanding what I'm thinking, is those old uniforms. I mean, the name of the high school is on the front of them, and it's hand stitched. I mean, these are old. These are from the 50s or 60s.
Right.
I mean, they are polyester, so they might be from the 60s, but they are like the old school, not not cheaply made. Like there is a little bit of damage though on some of them, so it's kind of like
it's like you said, the ones that have the name of the high school.
Yeah.
And maybe those would be something people would like put on the wall.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. The other thing, customer issues. We sold something. We talked about this on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. We sold an item, 4 parts, broken, where in the title itself it says
the first words in the title,
4 parts broken, and then in the actual
every place I could.
But I mean the actual category or the condition.
It's new, used, or for parts.
Right.
It was 4 parts.
Right. So the obvious thing is this thing doesn't work.
Right. If you're buying this for it to work, you should not be buying it.
And so we had a guy buy it. Great. He then opens a return request, and in it he said, I got the item, I hooked it up, it doesn't work. I'm returning this, and I want a full refund.
So I call eBay, and I'm like, okay, tell me what's proper here. And of course, as you all can guess, they were like, well, you accept returns, right? Yep. So you have to accept this return. However, he was like, you can give him in quoting him, a less than 50% refund because he's abusing returns. I'm like, shouldn't I just be able to close this case?
Yeah. I mean, look.
But no.
I mean, there's a couple things here. Number one, even if we don't have returns,
they could still open it.
He opened the case as item not as described.
Broken. Defective.
So according to eBay, we have to accept it no matter what. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, I say it's broken, so he shouldn't be able to return it at all. But I do see the other side. I mean, I feel like,
why are you selling a broken item?
There could be some unscrupulous sellers who would abuse that, who would sell everything broken and would actually be selling people trash. But then
I don't know. What's the point of being able to sell for parts items?
Well, because exactly that. Like, if you're selling something old and it's got some value to it to someone that knows how to take it apart.
I mean, I understand why, but like, if eBay's not backing you up on 4 parts broken,
right?
What is the point?
Yeah. So anyway, it's going to be fun. We'll get it back. We'll give him
less than 50% refund. He's going to fight it. He's going to give me negative feedback.
But then eBay's
all
going to
these things are guaranteed to happen.
Right.
But you know what? I've dealt with these things before.
But there's a process, and at no point do we ever really talk to him.
Yeah. I'm just like okay.
I'm not going to write him some passionate defense of my morality. It's just we call eBay and we follow that process.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things where you're like, this seems incorrect.
Okay, a couple of interesting kind of conversations we're having in the forum. My cottage was saying, because we're always talking about like, are there people still buying this stuff on eBay? Are there still collectors? And she was like, well,
she or he,
I think it's a she, she thinks that there's definitely fewer collectors these days, at least as we used to think of them. But I'm seeing the rise of buyers who I think of as designers or decorators.
Yes.
It's kind of a different mentality. Yes. So instead of thinking like I'm buying to put stuff on a shelf and it's all one thing. Right. I'm more of like a designer and I'm designing a space.
Yeah, and buying stuff for that.
And that's especially why the mid-century stuff is so huge. And
I see that. Yeah. I buy for those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am one of those people.
And she was like, I think this is one reason why some of us or a lot of us can sell such a wide range of stuff because people aren't just like only buying teacups. Right. Or pipes. They're buying stuff for their house, so they need artwork and little candlesticks, and they need napkin holders and clocks, and so it's actually kind of in our favor.
Yeah, I would think so.
But then that's also why I was saying earlier about how those same designer decorator kind of class of people those are the ones being targeted by Target and Home Goods,
yeah.
because they can just go to one place and buy it all.
All
right
those
there.
different styles are right there. Yeah, exactly.
And then Silver Fox Finds was saying that she says, I myself do buy clothes and shoes on eBay and generally prefer to buy quality items secondhand, and we're the same way.
Right.
Than to create a demand for brand new items.
Yeah.
And we're the exact same way. I actually just bought a $80 pair of pants.
You what?
On eBay, yeah. But it's like super high quality
like travel pants, right?
Pants that would have cost $180.
Right.
So I
right. Totally. Like I do that all the time. If I had to buy something on eBay, it was like a tool. It was dielectric grease, something I'd never heard of before in my life, but I was cleaning a vacuum and my friend said, you should get dielectric grease for the connectors.
What is that?
It's like this grease that helps keep clean, like conductors of, like circuits. Mm-hmm. 'Cause we have a Dyson and the little trigger thing the connector goes all the way through the tube to the motor head and it gets really dirty and like the connection. So he's like, you should put a little bit of dielectric grease on it. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. But so I bought some on eBay, but instead of buying ones that are like, look like a catalog from Amazon, I actually bought some from someone who's like a train collector. 'Cause I guess train collectors, use that. But I was like, I'm going to choose that one because someone took a picture of it in their home. I could tell than like the overseas sellers that are like drop shipping it. So yeah, to make that choice is like. So
she continues and she says, like in social media, there's plenty of folks and influencers who are pushing back on fast fashion. Right. That makes sense. And vowing to buy only secondhand, to go on buying hiatuses and make their own clothes. And I mean, we're not really a part of that kind of world, really. I mean, we've always done that. I mean, we already do that. I definitely do see those articles where even in like the fashion world, that's becoming a whole thing. Yeah. Like young women, or not only young women, but they're like, how can I dress myself with just like 8 pieces of clothing, and how do I combine match them every day so I don't look like I only have 8 pieces of clothing? Like people who have a workplace. It's like because I don't care about that. So it's like I guess a fun challenge. Yeah, that is cool. And there's like hashtags about it. Oh, cool! Yeah, that's amazing. So she says, like, so they're going to buy their items in fabric mainly on eBay and Etsy and other small businesses. And she says, I think this trend will continue, though the buyers will have a much more saturated marketplace to sort through because there are a lot more people that are selling too. Right. So it's good to hear that, though, that yes, there are more of us who are scavenging and selling, but I think that there's also a growing population of people who are willing to buy secondhand stuff. I agree. I totally see that. Yeah. I'm hoping that's true. In New York, in Union Square, Forever 21 shut down. Yeah. So that was kind of like because amazing. They were like kind of one of the first fast fashion like H&M companies who were like, instead of spring, summer, fall, it's like every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks there's like a new. I just think I don't know why they closed in Union Square other than maybe they're imploding. They are. Yeah. I don't know that they are. They're going bankrupt. I mean, because, good. They should. There are more because that's a tough business to be. Like they're doing the thing that we all say: don't make a sweatshop for it yourself. And like when you're selling $6 brand new clothes, and you have to throw half of it away because you have more stuff coming. That's just not a good business to be in. Yeah. But it's interesting hearing both of those perspectives because, I mean, again, we cry about the people that kept eBay alive for so long, and that was the collectors. Yeah. They're collecting a certain thing and they're willing to pay up. And so now we're moving from the collectors to the designers and the decorators. And those are the people who I think are now buying on eBay and other places. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And purposefully, I think also with designers and decorators.
And real quick, we don't mean people being paid as designers.
Just they're designing.
Just like the way we're calling normal people.
Right.
And that's the way they're
not
thinking.
Collectors.
I'm decorating my house.
Yeah, yeah. And like we were saying, I think that they prefer vintage, used, antique stuff because then it's unique. It isn't from Target. It isn't from Home Goods. It's not from IKEA. Like, you found it and it might be one of like 5 of that one, you know, and that's what makes it cool and interesting.
Okay, let's go to the calls or questions that people sent in.
Okay, you can email us an audio file. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com. Or you can call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hello, Scavenger Heroes. This is Mark the Shark from Central Connecticut. Trying to see what you guys think of an idea for another flat rate box. But this time, not a flat rate priority box, but a quasi flat rate parcel box. So when we sell clothing and some other items on eBay, minor collectibles and smalls, maybe not that it's so important that it gets there 48 to 72 hours, but maybe it can get there in twice as long, 5 to 6 days, and not go air. And the priority parcel box would be like 12 by 6 by 6 and be able to fit a small item of clothing and cost about $5. Just wondering what your thoughts were on this, Scavenger Life. Thank you.
It's all you.
I like that idea, a flat rate parcel box, like Parcel Select flat rate or something. I would like it to be 12 by 12 by 6 or 12 by 12 by 12, which they would never ever do that, but that's a great size. 12 by 12 by 6 would fit a lot of stuff. And they would never do it $5 either. They would do it like $8. But I love that idea. Maybe you should send it to the Postmaster General.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, a flat parcel, like you said, it can be slow. Parcel Select is super slow. Stuff takes forever, but people are like, I don't care. I want it to be cheap.
We actually met a guy whose partner works at the post office, like for a USPS.
Yeah.
And he says if you send an email to like whatever, USPS.com/whatever.
Whatever. They actually read it. He reads it.
It's Mark who.
Yeah, he was like,
the guy that reads
he was like,
so,
you know, he said when there used to be a little pop-up chat, he's like, yeah, Nancy reads that. I'm like, really? You like sit next to her? It's so funny. So yeah, people read that stuff. So I mean, look, it's definitely a shot in the dark, but why not send them that? I think that's a cool idea. A flat parcel. It's a cool idea. I like it.
Hi, this is Keith from Western Mass. I'm calling about inventory. I know there was a bunch of podcasts you were talking about your inventory process, but I don't know what you settled on. Could you just walk that through a little brief description and trying to figure out my life here and how to best inventory it? I've been selling on eBay since 99. I have like 3,000, 3,200 items. My part-time kind of gig, side hustle. But now it's time to inventory it. Down the road, next year or two, I think I'm going to start hiring some part-time help. So if you just walk us through what exactly you settled on, that'd be really appreciated, all right? Thanks. Keep up the great work. Bye.
I love that 3,200 items selling since 1999 is like a side gig.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah. I've been selling since 99 too.
Yeah.
99.
I mean, look, I'm
selling.
I'm going to call some BS on all of you people that say that. I mean, like 99 means like you got an account.
You bought some Ninja Turtles.
Or sold like one thing. It's not, that's the difference between like your selling, which I think is like 2008 was for you, you know.
No, I was selling some stuff before I moved to New York. Remember, I sold a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Okay, but not professionally.
Okay, anyway, this guy has an important question. So yes, we finally started inventorying our stuff, and this is how it is.
Yes.
And this just works for us. Everyone's sent us their own. People were making videos and all this stuff. So ours is very simple. So we have like
16 shelf units.
16 shelf, yeah. So and they're 4 shelves high.
Yep.
And so what we did was we numbered each shelf
unit
1 through 26.
1 through 16.
16.
As we just said.
However many.
16.
And then each shelf is A, B, C, or D.
So if there are bins, let's say shelf unit number 1, shelf A, top shelf,
And
bin 001.
Right. And the bins will go from 1 to infinity.
Right.
So there won't ever be another.
I did start renumbering bins because
Why?
Because I needed to put something on shelf unit 16, and I was like, I don't know what number I'm going to be up to now. So these are bins 1 and 2 on shelf unit 16.
I got you. But I think that you need to break out of your head that the bins have to be in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It does not matter.
Okay.
It can be 1, 8, 10, 12, 14,
It doesn't
16.
matter. What matters is the location, which is like shelf 1, unit A, bin 002, 003.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter because my helper's like, oh, it's shelf unit 1,
Right.
shelf A.
So I hope that it made sense. That was the easiest thing
By
for
location.
us. And then in a bin, there could be quite a few items in there, especially if they're little tiny small items, but at least it gets you to the bin, and then it hopefully won't take you more than a minute or two.
Some bins, things are numbered in it.
Sure.
So in my inventory system, like I just inventoried a whole bin that I had a bunch of numbered things in. So what I did was I was like, okay, this is in, say, shelf 16, shelf unit 16, shelf B, and it's bin 002, and the lot number is, 105.
Yeah.
So it just keeps like getting more granular as you go.
I mean, to me, I think we chose the simplest way for us to inventory. Some people were sending us where they have SKUs, where like the SKU has the location. It's got the date when it was listed. It's got some other information. So like these really long numbers. And I can see there's a value in having that much information. But for us, we needed to keep it.
We didn't need that info.
Real simple.
I need it so that because I have a helper who helps me ship, and I just need her to find stuff quickly.
Yeah.
And she does. Yeah. She actually did come Friday afternoon, and we had just come home from the auction. We had just come inside. I ran up to the office to say hi to her, and I was like, "Did you find all the stuff?" She's like, "Yep." She had like 15 things ready to be packed. I'm like, "Oh, I don't have to get anything." Nope.
Great.
So it was amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Jane Ryan, Phil Scavengers. I got an email from eBay this week. Maybe a lot of you got it too. But if not, it was about Terapeak being available on eBay if you have an eBay store. And so I went into, it said go into Seller Hub, click on the research, and there's a link there, Terapeak product search. And I read through the documentation a little bit. And normally when I research items, I just go into the advanced search and do the items that have been completed and search for an item and look through there for the ones that are green. But I have to say, after looking at this Terapeak, I think I will continue to use that. It looks like some pretty decent information. So if you didn't get that email, I just thought I'd pass it along. Thanks.
I didn't get that email.
So he's saying, wait, no, Terapeak
Terapeak's available if you have an eBay store. Yeah.
I thought it's always been available.
It's been available for the last 6 months. Maybe they're still rolling it out.
Yep.
So I use Terapeak if I'm searching for something and I'm listing it and I'm like, how much is this worth? eBay itself has 90 days worth of data, and then Terapeak has a year. I wish Terapeak had a lot more.
I thought, I don't know, back in the day when Terapeak was a separate company and people paid for it, I think you could actually pull more historical data, hysterical data.
Hysterical.
But you had to request it and it took more time.
Oh, they had to dig it up.
It wasn't instant.
Oh.
But I mean, I've said we have run our business on the eBay solds 90 days. It's been fine for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I find like if you find something so rare that something hasn't sold in the past 90 days, then
price high.
you might want to do a little more digging or price high. I mean, but mostly you can find enough information. And like some people that use like a Worth Point, they're pulling data from like 8 years ago.
10 years.
But really, prices from 8 years ago, I feel aren't going to really help me because the market changes so much. I mean, there are definitely items where maybe something sold for a lot a decade ago, but now are not worth anything. I need more recent information.
Yeah, so I find Terapeak to be helpful sometimes when I'm not seeing much or not seeing enough or seeing such high fluctuations in numbers. This one sold for 99 cents. This one sold for $40. Right. You're like, well, what is it?
Do you find that it's integrated well in your...
No, I just have it bookmarked. Yeah. Terapeak.ebay.com. Right. I don't know where it is anywhere else. I just have it.
To me, I'm just like, well, why not just build it into the eBay search? So it's not
like if you're signed in and you have a store, maybe it shows up with like a different color. Like these are Terapeak, like regular people who aren't signed in can't see it.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually they'll do that. I think that's way too messy for eBay. But yeah.
Hey there, Scavenger Life. This is Zane Fry calling in. I have a new experience in the reselling game that I'd like to share with you guys. So I've purchased my first bulk lot of Amazon returns just to see how it would go. And it actually has gone really well. But there are some points that I'd like to make for anybody else that wants to do it, and I'd like you guys to maybe comment on what I've done. So I paid $821 for the lot. That includes the shipping, the buyer's premium, and all the taxes and fees. For 66 items. When I got it, I inspected everything. There was some junk in there that wasn't worth selling, some broken CDs. There's a couple reams of pink printer paper that's obviously not worth selling. So my actual listings got knocked down to 31. So out of the 66, I had about half. So I split my costs across all of them, and I started listing on Monday. That's now Friday when I'm calling. I've sold 19 of the 31 items already, and I'm in the positive $248. I'm a rural person, just like you guys are, so the ease of just buying one lot and getting 30 listings out of it is much easier than going to a bunch of small little thrift stores all around. I usually travel an hour on Saturday to go to the closest bigger area, and I sometimes don't even get 30 items to list. So, just from my experience so far, it's been great. I have another lot on the way that I'm going to start listing, but I know this is a little outside of your realm, so I wanted you guys to comment on what you think about it. Maybe this is something that you guys would ever do. Thanks for all that you do. Love listening to the show. Bye.
Cool. Another rural person. Yes, we are rural people as well. And yeah, I mean, that's one reason why we love going to auctions is because we can get a truckload of stuff and kind of eat on it for a couple weeks. I mean, my thing is, so you paid $833 for 66 items, and like 31 of them were actually sellable. So it comes out to about $25, $26 an item. I mean, that's a lot of money.
You mean to pay out for?
Yeah, I mean, so he's paying $26 an item if only 31 of those items were actually in good shape. I mean, so it's good if you made a couple $100 already. And you have, 10 more items to sell. It's just, I guess, that's a tough game.
It's also tough because if these are Amazon returns, so they're open box and they could be damaged, and let's cross our fingers that they're not getting returned.
I mean, that's the other thing. So, he says over half of them were not really.
Oh, that's what he said. Okay,
usable.
so he had to scrap half of them.
So it was like 66 items and 31 were in good shape.
Right.
So even if all 31 of those items are good, it's just you're spending $800 to make
$250
$400. Well,
okay,
he's made $250 so far, and then I'd say he makes another $200. I mean, that's just a math that I don't think we could handle, especially starting out. Yeah. Paying $800 to make $400. But
what he's saying too is the positive is he didn't have to go anywhere. They got shipped to his house.
I hear you.
There's all those things. But so we've done that with military auctions where we were like, it either wasn't a far drive, sometimes it was, or it got shipped to us, and then half the stuff was junk.
If you go into our podcasts, we talk about that. There was a year or two where it was mainly me.
Yeah.
I was really into it. I mean, I thought the same thing. Like,
this is a gold mine.
It's like this, there's this private company selling military surplus coming back from Afghanistan.
Right.
And you could buy these huge boxes, these huge gaylords full of stuff, and you just auction online.
Yeah.
And I was really getting into it.
Yeah.
And I would buy like, a big gaylord for like $800.
A couple times you drove to Ohio.
Yeah.
You'd
Or
stay overnight.
a couple times I paid like $2,000 or $3,000. And the problem is like the first couple I got were like gold mines.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like
there was stuff that I could not believe how much we were selling stuff for.
I think we were making
Bunny
like
boots.
$5,000 on, like an $800.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But then I got a couple where, I spent $800 and we would be lucky if we would make $800, and it was just such a pain in the butt to have to take pictures of and list, because it wasn't like all brand new in the package. It's just like used military equipment, and you had to like, different sizes of things. So you had to still had to take all the pictures.
So the moral is for this, because that's very different than Amazon returns, because he can have catalog pictures and whatever.
True.
It got to the point where the getting wasn't good anymore.
Yeah.
We were like, we're not getting anything good. I still have some of that military gear. I can't sell it.
Yeah.
I'm still sitting on it. I'm like, I should just donate this stuff,
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that is what will happen. You should keep trying. You should keep, exploring that as a source. I think that's not a bad idea, especially if you're flipping it and making your money back quick.
Right.
But $800 is a lot to lay out.
If you enjoy it and the numbers work for you,
Do it.
then it's awesome.
Yeah, do it.
But just my concern is, especially, I don't know if you're putting all this on your credit card, and if you don't start paying that credit card back, so you're, paying the $800 for the auctions on your credit card, and if you're not paying that back quickly,
pay it back.
then that stuff can kind of start, it's an avalanche.
Right. So just be careful, but, it's good info. I've been hearing, there was another conversation on the forum where someone was saying, or did they email it to us, that they went to it was not an auction, it was like an estate sale of Amazon returns.
It was a business. Who was buying Amazon returns, and it was like a pick a bin or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you could pick any item for $1, and he would just go and pick items.
Yeah.
And then resell them. So
it sounds like Amazon returns are like, there's a floodgate opening up of like the third wave market of Amazon returns. So, okay, that's it for our calls this week.
Yeah, you can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com, and scavengerlife.com/forum is where a lot of us hang out and talk. This will go up Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yep.
You can check out our What Sold a video on Wednesday that's done by Steven Schultz.
Awesome.
Yep. It's awesome. And next Sunday we'll have a kind of a special podcast. So
yeah, it'll be different.
Get ready for a special podcast.
For something special.
Anyway, this podcast is ending in 3,
2, 1. Bye.
Sell trash, be free.